everybody, welcome back to Julia in the Garden. As we are planning our gardens, I thought I would share with you some categories of plants that I really enjoy for different purposes. So today I'm going to talk about plants that my pollinators have loved. There are lots of different pollinator plants, and I could do categories of pollinator plants for different pollinators and different types of plants. However, these are just the plants that I've been growing for a few years that I've noticed a lot of bees and butterflies around. The first plant I want to highlight that my pollinators love is Salvia. And these are all flowers, which is probably obvious. But I grow Salvia down my front walkway. I have for the last 2 years, and I think I'm going to do the same one again this year. I've been growing the Rockin' playing the blue Salvia from Proven Winners, and they grow fantastically. By the end of the season, they are just huge, and they just keep blooming and blooming and blooming all season, and they are always covered with bees. Sometimes if people are a little nervous about bees, that can be a problem, but they haven't stung anyone. So they're just getting their meal, and I love watching them. It's just so cool. I haven't noticed as many butterflies on the Salvia in particular, but that doesn't mean that they don't. They might just like other things better. But it's kind of got a long stem with little flowers that can be kind of tubular, so it's probably harder for the butterflies to land on. However, hummingbirds also like it. I've several times seen hummingbird on it. It's one of the two plants I've seen the hummingbird on the most. And I may do a separate video just on hummingbirds at some point, but bees and hummingbirds love the Salvia. Now, that variety is an annual variety, so it does bloom throughout the season and then dies back for me at the end of the season. Although for some of you in warmer zones, that may actually be a perennial. It may survive your winters. I'm in zone 5. But whatever your zone is, you could grow annual salvias, and there's also some perennial salvias that are relatively hardy, I think at least up to zone 4. So you can get those as well. I have found with the perennial salvias that they don't bloom as profusely for the entire year, that they generally need to be cut back and then do a second flush. So I've been mainly growing annual salvias currently, but that doesn't mean I won't add perennials in the future. It also comes in some different colors. So that one's kind of it's a horticultural blue, which is more of a blue purple color. But it also comes in pinks and whites. I think that's it as far as Salvia. Most of them are like a purpley blue color or pink. But yeah, whatever color they are, whether annual or perennial, great for pollinators. The second plant my pollinators love are zinnias. Zinnias are a workhorse flower in my garden. I grow them for cut flowers, and they are one of my favorite cut flowers. A lot of times I just do a bouquet of zinnias. They come in so many different colors and in different sizes too. You can get ones that are like the small size or ones that are like really big, like the Binary Giant series. They have like really big, and some of them get like fluffy, or you've got singles. So there's so much variety in the zinnia world. They are really easy to grow. For me, they're an annual. I think they're an annual most places, unless you're in a really warm zone. But the bees and the butterflies absolutely love them. I see butterflies on them all the time. And again, they come in different colors, so you can get like a really bright mix. You can get more of a pastel mix. One of my favorites is the Queenie or Queen Lime series. I'm not sure, they're called different things in different places, but the Queen series, where it's more of like an antiqued look. And I love the Queenie red. It just, yeah, absolutely beautiful. And the pollinators seem to enjoy them all. So grow what makes you happy. The third flower that pollinators love are Strawflowers. And this kind of surprised me, to be honest. I grew them, I've grown them for a couple years now, and I've grown them for cut flowers, and also they dry really well. They are different than other flowers because they kind of, the petals themselves are kind of stiff. And so I didn't expect the pollinators to love them as much as they do, but they really do. Especially I've noticed like smaller butterflies on them, and I love it. They're, again, I grow them as an annual, as a cut flower. You could probably also put them in an ornamental bed. I haven't done that yet, but they come in a variety of colors. I've grown from like white to apricot to pink to like a red. So beautiful. And again, they're great for cut flowers, and they're also great to dry. So you have dried flowers, and pollinators love them. 4 is Scabiosa, which are also called pincushion flowers. There are a lot of the Scabiosa I grow are annuals, but there are a few perennial versions. I planted some perennial ones last year, but I got them in late so they didn't flower. So my experience is with the annual Scabiosa or pincushion flowers. And again, these are a little different looking. They're small. They look like mini pincushions. But the bees love these, and I've seen some butterflies on them as well, and I love them. They're really kind of they get these like long stems and they kind of float, and so they're really good kind of accent pieces in arrangements for cut flowers. And they're also great just to have in a bed. You do want to cut them back at some point because once they go to seed, they'll slow down flowering. So if you keep cutting them, you'll get more, and then your pollinators will be extra happy with more flowers throughout the season. And again, lots of different colors. I've grown them in white. There's also a purple. There's like a red, like a bright red, and then like a deep Merlot red. I've grown all those. And they're, yes, beautiful, beautiful. All right, moving on. My last three are actually perennials for me here in Zone 5 in Vermont. And next is phlox. Now, there are annual varieties of phlox I've grown as well. It's actually been a couple years since I've grown them because I was struggling with them a bit, but I may try again this year. However, I planted Jeana Phlox. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. I'll have the name on the screen. It's a pink phlox, and I put it in an ornamental garden bed next to my house, and the butterflies were all over it this summer. They absolutely loved it, and it's actually also, that particular kind of phlox is native for my area, so that is a big plus. Native plants are great for pollinators because the pollinators in the area and other wildlife have evolved with those plants. So it's a big plus to me if they're also native. So phlox, and specifically that type of phlox, great for my pollinators. Next is Nepeta, and there are different kinds of Nepeta. To me, they look a little bit like lavender. And they grow better for me than lavender, although both Nepeta and lavender are Mediterranean plants, so they like it hot and they like it on the drier side. But somehow I've had some Nepeta that's been doing really well in my clay soils here in Vermont. I have a couple different varieties, and I'm not remembering all of the varieties I have, but one of them it might be Walker's Low. I'll double check so I can put it on here. I planted it in a video when I planted that in peonies a couple falls ago, and last year it bloomed actually super early. It was one of my earliest flowers that I had blooming, and the bees love it. And then I have a different variety whose, again, I'll see if I can find the name. I didn't plant it on video, so I have to see if I can find the tag. But I have a couple plants in the beds next to my deck, and it's a bigger flower, and that the bees like as well, but the hummingbirds, I think that's their favorite. They love the Salvia, but the big Nepeta, I saw the hummingbird on it so many times last year, made me so happy. Nepeta is another great one for pollinators. And again, it's pretty hardy. I'm in Zone 5. They're definitely hardy to Zone 5. Some of them be hardy to Zone 4, although I'm not 100% sure, and you'd want to check the variety. Last but not least on my list is roses. Now, I was concerned that I wouldn't have as many pollinators on my roses because a lot of the roses I grow are English roses. I have quite a few David Austins. I absolutely love them. And then I have some other shrub roses as well that aren't necessarily the English variety. I have found the pollinators, especially the bees, love all of them. I have so many times been out, pruning my roses, cutting some, or just enjoying them to smell because, some of them smell so good, and have found bees like inside the flowers. I think the bumblebees in particular like them. The key is when they open, the bees need to be able to find the pollen, and that is easier for them on flowers that are single or don't have as many ruffles, I guess, to them. But they seem to do fine on all of my roses. And I think the smell is slightly intoxicating to them as well. I have found that both bees and Japanese beetles, which I pick off my roses, move a lot slower when they're on a rose flower than if they're on like a leaf or something, for the Japanese beetles, because it's like intoxicating and maybe sedating a little bit. I don't know that they attract as many pollinators as some of the others I've mentioned, like the Salvia and the Zinnia, but to me, I love them. They are beautiful and they do make some of my bees happy. As I learn and grow as a gardener, I am sure I will find many more great pollinator plants and I will be sure to share them with you. Until next time, friends, have fun planning for your garden and happy gardening.